Hello, everybody. Good evening to you. My name is Daniel Young. I'm the owner and founder of Adaptive Perspective and the Adaptive Perspective social media platforms, and I am back to talk about our stock market investment strategy utilizing closed-end funds. So, to get the normal disclaimers out of the way, this is an unedited video. Who knows what you'll hear in the background as I film these in my house? I am not a financial advisor. I am a financial strategist, and I don't talk like a herd. I walk in limited company and sometimes I walk alone. So the general book updates are these. The overall general strategy book is done. The dividend strategy book is done. And now I am reorienting and attempting to merge styles, merge tone and terminology and overall voice into the next planned book for scholarships. And it might just be the hardest book to write. We'll find out, but taking a it's taking an existing draft and breaking it down into chapters and walking someone through the strategy of how I would encourage my own child to use scholarships in this day and age. So that's my problem to figure out, and I'll update you as I go. But that's pretty much where we are. So for the market, like we've been discussing, financial currents are always flowing, but we can't pick just any current. A barely moving current is still flowing, and that's not going to help us much. We don't want to be stuck. We don't want to be slow moving. Instead, we want to be moving and carried forward by the current. So we're not targeting reflections or isolated quick picks that would leave us stuck in yesterday's market. We want to find the underlying forces most active in the existing market, and we want to use that to pull us into the coming market or use that to pull us forward into further into our journey. Now, I do these videos on the stock market, but quite honestly, you can target currents and target financial currents in any market, stock market, real estate market, general housing market, et cetera, et cetera. If you can find the underlying currents driving decisions and where you that are or say if you can find the underlying currents that are driving current decisions, but also orient yourself to where you believe the market is going based upon data, not just based on your general random suppositions, then you can orient yourself in any market, find the current and get sucked into that current and pulled forward while everybody else chases any number of things. So it's specific to the stock market, but at the same time, you can use it anywhere. So the just in review, here are the financial waters that we're talking about. So the currents exist whether you like it or not. They're always moving. Waves are large events, recessions, wars, policy shocks, herd panic. Ripples are smaller disruptions. So waves might be large scale, they might be statewide, nationally, federally, right? Ripples could be smaller for state, city, or even town, community. Uh, just kind of depends on where you are. And then tides are the long-term consequences of our choices, and that would be the the consequences of everybody else's choices that are impacting your choices, but they're also your choices and how they impact everything else after you. So let's view events through these lenses. So if we step back and we look at the overall macro data, so if we look at macro data, meso data, micro data would be like our own backyard. So if we step back and look at the giant picture, the US is the leader in world business, and everyone wants to be in the American market space. Overall, and not even overall, but we'll say in America, but it's really everywhere. We live in a debt riddled and debt financed world. You can leverage debt. Yes, you can also over leverage debt and get yourself in trouble. But most people don't know how to leverage debt at all. And then we are, gosh, in our place and time, we are in the dawn of the next technological boom, and that just happens to include AI. The meso data is that we are still receiving increasing reports of waste, fraud, and abuse or monetary abuse, as well as attempts to cover up those things. The nation is focused on Minnesota because that's where they're not protesters. That's where the activists and the thugs have gathered to counter moves to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse, among other things. But it's happening everywhere in the States, in other countries, and more people are becoming aware of just how bad their country and their state, their governments, etc., have been wasting taxpayer money. And in the US, American nationalism, meaning pride in your country, nationalism is not a bad thing. If you're from France or Poland, Great Britain, Canada, pick your country. Having so like whatever you want to put in front. So Colombian, Paraguay, Nigeria, the UK, France, Italy, Germany, nationalism just means you're proud of your own country. And currently, American nationalism is on the rise. And we're seeing exponential growth or exponential potential for growth in the US economy, both based on that growing national sentiment, but also based upon the onboarding of more and more wealth into our country and the onboarding of more uh, capital to build the manufacturing and infrastructure that our country needs. All of that's good stuff. The micro data would be on your end of things. So before we hit that data, let's talk about waves. So so currents are always moving, and every financial current always moves. Some just move faster than others. From that, we have waves, right? Bigger events. So President Trump pulls the United States out of the World Health Organization, saving trillions and focusing on American priorities. So instead of sending all of that money, who knows where, now we can reroute that money back into America. The United States is working with NATO to acquire Greenland for several reasons, both of which are national security based. Now, if you get your news from the news, I'm going to tell you to dig deeper because the news is going to skim the surface. And it really, at this point, they're getting their stories from other journalists' random thoughts and not investigating anything. They are no longer investigative journalists. It's really like a hamster trying to hear another hamster from another cage and just running with it, which sounds crazy, but that's the state of the news. Anything the news offers you is curated, filtered, and skimmed out. So I quite honestly, I get my news off Telegram. MXM is a decent news outlet. Just the News with John Solomon. I think that's John, wherever John Solomon is. I don't know if that's Just the News or somewhere else, but John Solomon's great. Uh, MXM is good, and then I get all of my news off Telegram. So instead of getting into the deeper layers of national security in Greenland, let's bypass that and talk about some other stuff. So most people would steer clear of politics as it relates to finances, but politics help us find those currents. They help us find the boundaries of those currents. So whether I like Trump or not, and I do, and whether or not I like his policies, which I do, the overall political policy and that mentality of the existing administration sets the boundaries for the present currents and alludes to the coming markets. Plus, we have these ongoing changes inside the economy, like rate cuts and individual department changes and individual departments pulling back on their budgets or not spending as much. And we also have individual departments tracking money trying to find more waste, fraud, and abuse. So those additional changes can alter the wave patterns. Excuse me. It's not going to change the current of, so those smaller disruptions aren't going to change the overall priority for that America First current right now, but it will impact the waves coming off of that current. So the microdata is going to be dependent upon your area. So if you think of the current policies that have been in place for about a year at this point, what ripples are happening in your area? In my area, gas prices have fallen to just over $2 a gallon. Grocery prices are still elevated, but down slightly year over year. Overall, prices have fallen slightly. But again, this is just the first year of this new economic policy cycle. We'll continue to see ripples. We'll continue to see impacts, whether anything new happens week to week or not. And then the tides of everything are the fallout of all the decisions, including yours. So the goal is to find the current or find the quick flowing current and get pulled forward. We want to ride that tide, ride our decision to join that current, and then stay alert because at some point we're going to have to steer towards a different current so that we can keep moving forward and not get slowed down. Or it, so if you've ever floated a boat, like if you've not floated a boat, but maybe if you've ever made a cardboard boat or paper boat and you dropped it into say like a little stream or inlet of water flowing into a pond, and you can, or say if you watch a leaf flowing on water like down your curb gutter, that leaf is going to encounter different rates of flowing water, but at some point it always happens. That leaf hits a barrier that you can't see and it shoots off in a different direction, and then it just kind of circles and gets stuck. We want to keep trending forward. We want to keep getting both. We want to keep steering forward. We want to keep our boat pointed where it needs to be, oriented where it needs to be. We want to adjust the sails, right? We want to steer our ship and maintain our trajectory inside that current. All of that's well and good, but at some point we're going to have to deviate from that current and pick another one so that we keep maintaining progress and we don't start going off course and just kind of spinning in place. So, all of that said, where does that leave us in the current market? And as I made this video, or I guess as I planned this video, I honestly debated just keeping it bare bones and saying nothing really changed week to week. And that's true and not true. I mean, we're still steering in the same currents. We're still dealing with the bonds and bonds proxies, end-to-end energy, and technology beyond the giants. But the market has changed. Every time I make one of these videos and every time I generate a list or a curated list or a list, it's a snapshot in time. So that as soon as the opening bell dings and the market shifts from that point, the list ages. So the market changed, the targets have changed to a degree. I can't simply just recreate or duplicate the last video because every single week, whether anything major happens or not, the market moves. So it automatically outdates the previous list and it outdates the last information. So what do I see going forward? I see choppy seas ahead. Uh, while policy debates will rage, I see the economy and the market chugging forward, sometimes even skipping forward. And while storms will come and go, we're still sailing in the best current and moving forward. And it, I say this as a reminder. We have all of these different debates raging right now. with all of these different people raging right now. It's very cyclical, and there's always more to know than what's settling on the surface. Because if you could dig under or dive under, you would see the different course, the different currents, the different uh, I don't know, the different pieces at work, or the different overall ideologies at play, and you'll see a much deeper, richer, more obviously staggering picture than anything the news will tell you. But you have to take it on yourself. Financially, all of those uh, cultural and civil issues and this overall unrest we're seeing in the country, not all of that is going to bleed into the economy or the stock market. We're seeing isolated pockets of uh, not civil disobedience. At this point, it's intentional disobedience. But we're seeing isolated pockets of that, and it's not widespread. It could be, but it's not currently. And even if it does spread, the economy itself will keep chugging along. The market itself will keep chugging along, not indifferent to what's going on, but at the same time, we're looking at more wave data and more current data. And you have to be able to know which is which. And you have to look at things unemotionally. Whether you like what's going on right now in the grander scheme of things with between the Trump administration, the Biden administration, the Trump administration, the Obama administration, the Bush administration, like in backwards, regardless of how you see each administration, you still have to review the data unemotionally and logically solve your problems, or at least logically look at the trajectory of the market so that you know where you need to move right now so that you can plan better for that coming market. So the CEF snapshots, I'm not going to go through I'm not going to go through the full sift and sort. I'll give you a final four, and I'll explain why they made the final four, but it's not going to be like normal because I'm both preparing you and I'm training me as I advance through my to-do list. And I mean, yeah, the pun would be to make it a to done list. But as I advance through my to do list, as I finish these books, my goal is to finalize a place to put all of this information and make a private group where I can do the sift and sort, but also you can interact with that. So to train me for that, um, I don't know, bifurcation of things, I guess you could say. I'm going to stop doing the full sift and sort on these videos. So the final four for this week, I'll share that screen. The final four for this week are these. And yes, we own each one. It's the best decision for us. Like for me personally, for our portfolio, C is cash brokerage, R is Roth. So I will tell you why I stuck with these four. BRW and FSCO, I think, are great in tandem. At least that's been my strategy. And the fact that well, they're all listed at 100, we're not buying everything. So disregard that for right now. Uh, BRW and FSCO both have dipped for whatever reason in the current market. For whatever reason, it still makes the most sense for us to be there. So BRW, because of bonds, I'm not going to read that stuff to you. FSCO, yes, it's labeled a corporate bond fund, but it's really a private lender and BDC, and it's an all-American company. BRW is a little more widespread. It's more a global thing, so it's going to see up and down a little bit. But I do like it because it gives me access to those other things. FSCO is All American, and that's where I want to be right now. Um, Advantages wise, both on the dollar cost average, they tick every box. So bonds and bonds proxies, both are bond funds, labeled bond funds, although they're a little bit different than that. Say they both have their different focuses. Currently, both are down for whatever reason. And I don't know why. There's no point trying to make it make sense. But on my end of things, it makes sense to add more of them right now. HGLB, I've criticized in the past. It is still more portfolio when it can than I would like, but overall, it's not that bad. But it's more than that. So it's HGLB invest a lot into mid-wave wireless, which is a great place to be in this coming AI boom. They've also upped their portfolio's ownership percentage, I guess you could say, or the weight of their portfolio. They've put a lot more into data centers. That's a good thing for the coming market, for this market, the coming market. And then NBXG is all stocks. Uh, the advantage of NBXG over some of the others I could list that are all stocks, NBXG sells covered calls. So for a I won't say erratic, but for a choppy, uh, uncertain market, that sounds there we go. That sounds like a decent way to play uh, the overall uncertainty in the market. Uh, and then, gosh, as a really is like a 5G company only, like or a company that invests in 5G stocks that would benefit across the board from AI. It just sounds like a good place to be. So let me know what you think about those final four, or let me know what you think about the final four of funds for the week. And then if you have feedback or commentary, I mean, you could offer any criticism, but I would like it to be constructive criticism about the video, how I'm changing my videos, Final Four, what you're investing in, whatever. Please feel free to share. Um, it's a weird week for us because in my area we're all out for Monday because of this cold weather storm or winter weather storm. So looking into this week, it's going to be a different week than we all anticipated last week. So I'm going to have to make some things work. I'm just going to have to get some stuff done. Last week, I made some serious progress, but quite honestly, I still have loads to do this week. But that also means as my kind of like as you finish a lot of things on your list, you add more, right? You still have a lot to do. There's also lots of potential distractions. So my advice is, both to me and to you, make your to-do list and get stuff done. Don't wait for things to happen and don't put things off. Victory comes to those who prepare and act, not to the lollygaggers or those who are afraid to launch. Um, I would also say we all procrastinate in different ways. The most obvious form of procrastination is just scrolling social media, but there's more. So if you're in the same place and you've been in the same place, don't be afraid to call out fear or your own procrastination, however you want to label it. Don't be afraid to call it out and then make a plan and act on it because fear wins when you do nothing, but it gets destroyed when you do something. So make some positive progress. Um, yeah, on my end, I've got stuff to do and I can't wait for somebody else to do it because if I wait, it's just not going to get done. So the best way to do it is to make a list, cross off the important stuff that has to get done first, so I can get to that other stuff. Um, and then looking into the week, I know the winter spell has impacted everybody. I hope you're well. I hope you find a way through your distractions. And I hope you do get to cross more things off your list. And just know that as you cross stuff off, more things are going to pop up. It's never, ever, ever, ever a blank list. But whatever it is that you have going on and whatever it is that you're working towards, just know that the journey is worth it. Might not always feel that way, but the journey's worth it. Learn from the mistakes you make. Failure is not failure in the sense that the journey stops unless you choose to stop. So learn from the failures and then just keep going. Uh, and for the week, my week, I mean, we're all off Monday. Next week we've got chance of snow, so we'll see what happens the week after that. It's gonna honestly kind of parallel the market. It's gonna be choppy and up and down for a while, but that's all right. We keep going, we keep making progress, and we keep getting stuff done. So whatever you have for the week, I hope it goes well. And hopefully I make progress. Hopefully you make progress. And then next week when we see each other on another video, we will have both made progress to whatever it is we're working on. So have a great week, everybody. I will see y'all later. Bye bye.